Hi everyone, my name's Jeremy. I'm 18 years old and I'm openly gay. I'm very comfortable with myself right now, but I've been through a lot in my 18 years. And I'm going to share my story with you. I was born in Dover, New Hampshire, and I lived in Dover for about until I was 1. Then I moved to Quincy, Massachusetts with my mother and my father, and when I was 3, or just about to turn 3, my little sister Heather was born. And shortly after, my parents split up and divorced. When I was about 2, my downstairs neighbor might have molested me. But unfortunately, we weren't able to prove it. But later on in life, I had nightmares about it, and I haven't told anybody. And that's a little difficult. And later in life, we moved to Somersworth, New Hampshire, lived on top of the duplex with my grandmother owns, and we lived on the top floor, she lived on the bottom floor. And we lived there for about a year or 2, till we moved down the street to a little apartment complex type thing on Depot Street, and a few years went by. Saw my dad very little, and when I was about 5, I think that was the last time I saw him until I was 8. When I was 8, he called my mother basically almost dead. And my mom, with the heart she has, she took him back in, and he's now got 11 years clean and sober. And me and him don't have a solid relationship right now because we got into a fight. But that's a little later on. Okay, so a few years went by, nothing too big happened. And eventually we moved back into the apartment above my grandmother's house. And lived there for like 5 more years. And when I was 11, I believe, the first death happened in my life. My great mère, she passed away, and it was the first death I dealt with, and I didn't really know how to take it. So I did some stupid things. I ended up getting my mother sued, and I'm sorry for that. I've told her I'm sorry, but I can only tell her so many times. Yeah. So I started doing candles with my grandmother, and we did that for about 3-4 years, I'm gonna say. And it was fun. I'd love to get back into it, but just don't have the money. So, when I was 13, my great-grandmother had lived with us my whole life. She basically raised me. My mom worked a lot to provide for me and my sister. So we didn't really see her too often. She'd leave before we woke up, and by the time she got back we were pretty much in bed, and we only got to see her for a very short amount of time. Until I was about 14. So my great-grandmother meant the world to me. She was my best friend. She lived. I'm sorry. Mm. She lived with us, and she did more for me than anyone ever could know. She used to dress me, tuck me in. I used to sleep in a room with her, and a lot. She means so much to me. When I was 13, it was November, I believe the 21st. There was a craft fair that me and my grandmother were selling candles, and my grandmother dropped me off and left me there for a little while. She ran home to go grab some more because we were low on supplies. And about an hour went by, and my mom came by, and she dropped the stuff off. She said Nana had a little accident, and her and Grammy were in the hospital, so I figured she might have fallen down or something, and had no clue. So a little more time went by. I sold some, chit-chatted with a nice woman named Ellie that sat behind me, and I ended up buying a stone for my grandmother that said, "You are my angel," on it. And a little more time went by. A close family friend named Mary stopped by. She sat with me for a little while, and some time went by, and some time went by, and then we heard a ruckus. And the way we saw, I couldn't see it. It was towards the front of the church we were in. It was my mom. She was having some trouble getting to me. So when she got to me, tears in her eyes, blubbering wreck, she came up to me. She sat down next to me and told me that my Nana had passed away. I don't really remember too much more of that day. I remember crying so much that I couldn't cry anymore by the time to get to the hospital. I remember the walk to the car. The short distance seemed like miles. And the drive that only took about 10 minutes seemed like hours and hours. When I got there, my father, my grandmother, my mom, me, my dad. I can't remember if anybody else was there. They asked me if I wanted to see her, and I couldn't. I sat in the meditation room of Wentworth Douglas Hospital. And I just remember just staring at the wall, hoping I'd wake up, hoping that this was just a terrible nightmare. And over the next couple days, the preparations for her funeral began. And I was basically a zombie. I didn't really talk or eat. I didn't really do anything. I had, just kind of sat there. Kind of like a zombie, like I said. The preparations all were taken care of by my grandmother and my mom. And after a while, her wake came. I pulled up to the funeral home. We went inside. I took one look at her and hit the floor. I ended up having to leave the room, and I went into a separate room and I sat in the corner for the whole time. Didn't talk. I couldn't. I had nothing to say. So toward the end of the wake, when everyone had to say their goodbyes, my grandmother, and I believe my mom, it might have been someone else, had to help me. They had to pick me up and bring me to the casket so I could say goodbye for the last time. I put the stone I had bought for her with her. I miss her every day. This is her. So, her funeral came and passed, and I eventually started to act more human. I started talking again. I started eating. I started trying to enjoy life some more. So, not much more happened for the rest of the year. It's a hard Christmas, hard Thanksgiving. I had nothing to be thankful for at the time. And so, next year came, I turned 14, started high school. I had almost no friends. I was very, very alone. And due to reasons I won't mention names, I will just say letters. Kay, she came up to me because I was sitting alone at lunch, and she started talking to me, and she was so nice to me. And so she helped me gain some confidence in myself, and she helped me kind of come out of my shell. I ended up coming out of the closet that year at Christmas. She helped me. My Kay, she if I had known now what would have happened, I probably would have tried to stay away. She introduced me to some new people. I started to smoke cigarettes. And that's how it started. I was smoking cigarettes, and then one day, her and another person, I cannot remember, they introduced me to marijuana. And so, they told me it was just a rolled cigarette. So I was smoking it with them, and come to find out what it was. So I started smoking marijuana for a long time. Every day I was high. And of course, with marijuana comes different things later on. I started drinking, taking pills, some heavier stuff, and I kind of pushed myself away from my family. I felt that they were kind of ruining my life. They were, like, sort of pushing me away. It turns out I was the one pushing them away. And my grades dropped dramatically. I was sick all the time. I ended up in the hospital because I stole tequila, I believe, from my mother's liquor cabinet. and I stole Valium from my grandmother. And I went to go meet up with them and a few other people. And we started taking the pills and drinking. So, needless to say, a few of us ended up in the hospital that day. I ended up getting very, very sick, and one person almost died. So, a lot of people in this town don't like me for that. They don't like me for the past and what I did to people. I had a lot going through my mind around that time. And my so-called friends were trying to help me through it. So, by my sophomore year, they had all dropped out to get their GEDs. So I was alone again. And I was still heavily using drugs. And one of my ex-friends, G, she ended up giving me tequila. I drank and drank and drank to the point where I blacked out. I blacked out. And when her mom came to find out, she blamed it all on me. So it all came down on me. And like an idiot, after we fell out, I let her back in my life. And she started giving me pills again. And I started to cut myself more. I have makeup on it, but I have a scar above this eye. It starts here and goes to here from taking a razor blade and slicing my face open because I was so high I couldn't feel it. I lied to everyone, telling them I fell and hit myself on a counter, I believe. And I started making myself throw up after eating. I hated myself. I hated my body. I hated me. I hated everything about me. There was not one thing about me I liked. And sophomore year, I ended up trying to kill myself. Because I was raped. I was at a friend's house and we got drunk, and I went out for a walk. And on the walk, I went down a road, and this guy had been following me for a while. And he raped me. And when I went to the police with my mom, I was so scared that I ended up telling them that I lied. And I ended up in the suicide hospital for it. Because I didn't want to live anymore. And that was the first of many trips to the suicide hospitals. I'm so grateful for the people that worked there. They helped me through so much. There's nothing I could ever do that could repay them. They helped me figure out what was wrong with me. I have borderline personality disorder, which essentially means is I don't see things the right way that other people do. I don't really have any extreme highs or extreme lows. I also have severe clinical depression, anxiety, and it's very limiting. I have to take every day, day by day. I take 3 medications daily to keep myself normal, quote unquote. So, the first love of my life, Matt. Me and him were together for a few months. He was my first. And I think I took the breakup really, really hard. And me and him are now friends. And I've worked through it. I will always have feelings for him, but I know that we could never be back together. I'm currently single. I broke up with my last boyfriend for personal reasons that will not be discussed. I lost both my grandfathers. I can't remember. I think I was 16. I lost both of them within 6 months of each other. One of them I had only met once in my life, so I didn't really know him. I don't know much about him at all. I don't really even know his name. I believe it's George. And I think I would have liked to get to know him more, but it's too late now. But I met my aunt, my Auntie Andrea, through this happening. So, even in dark, you can find light if you just remember to turn the lights on. So, that was another difficult time in my life. And I ended up starting back on drugs. I'm currently in a very good place. I'm back living with my mother, and I have a very good relationship with her now. I, oh, I also I have 3 sisters that we're positive of. My sister, Heather, who is my full-blood sister. Both mom and dad are the same. And my sister, Kendall, her mom, Jen, and her are amazing. And my sister, Alexis. Her mom passed away very recently. And I felt so bad. I didn't know, to help her. I didn't really know her. I still don't really know her. And I'm happy that she's in my life now, and I'm happy that all my sisters are. I also have a brother, but due to complications, he didn't make it when he was born. His name is Thomas. He would be 21 if he was still alive. So, I've put a lot of the bad out of my life to let in the good. And I am so glad I did. If I lived to keep all of what's happened bad in my life on my shoulders, I wouldn't be here. I would be dead. And I'm grateful for all the help my family and friends have done for me. You can't see her, but my friend Helen is in the room. And she helped me today. She helped me gain the courage to make this video finally. And just in a very good place now. I'm going to be starting May 13th, I believe, at Empire Beauty School, and that is a huge deal for me. I'm looking forward to it very, very much. I'm currently unemployed, but that's okay. A lot of people are. I have a roof over my head, and I have food, which is more than some. I'm grateful for it every day. I love my life now. Sure, there are things I want to change, but there are things everybody would like to change in their life. But I'm happy. I can actually say I'm happy right now. And I'm glad that I'm here today. I would like to hopefully one day open a gay support group shelter thing that will help any other gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, questioning, even straight, like people. I would really, really like to do that one day, but take it one day at a time. And I know it's been said by so many people, but things get better. You just have to remember that there are people who have it worse than you. There are people who have it better than you. But none of them are you. I would just like to end this by saying, I love each and every one of you. And I don't hold anything against anyone anymore. I have let it all go. Because holding it in, it's just too much for anyone to handle. And no one should have to. If you've sat through this pretty much whole half an hour video, I hope that this helped you in some way. My name's Jeremy David Whitcomb II. And I am me. And that's all I ever want to be. Thank you all.